welcome into the show, everybody. How you doing? Nice to have you. My name is Mark Farzetta. This is the Farzy Show. We're going to be talking about a Phillies victory over the San Francisco Giants, helping the wild card standings. You get Bryce Harper with an inside-the-park home run. Alec Bohm matches his season total from last year with 13 homers in the season. Has one of his best games ever as a Philly. 3 hits in the ballgame, including that home run. Some stellar play at first base, particularly down the line for Alec Bohm last night. Aaron Nola gets a clutch start, and we haven't been able to say that. I know yesterday I was on this very program. I was talking about Aaron Nola. I was saying how I wasn't very confident, and I was hoping that my confidence would, somehow cancel out any, actually add to optimism. And it did after that first inning. It wasn't looking good. Then a little 1-2-3 double play. And the Phillies were out of a jam. They were down 1-0, but they were out of a jam. Next thing you know, they're able to tie it up. Next thing you know, they're able to take the lead. Next thing you know, it's 10-2. And then, of course, 10-4 with that Covey fella coming in there in the ninth inning. That wasn't comfortable. But I will say this about the Alec Bohm home run. I have a connection to that home run. And if you didn't see post-game last night on the Jacob Media YouTube channel, I'll get to it in a second. But it was a funny connection, funny little story about that Alec Bohm home run. We'll get to that coming up in just a second. Also on today's program, we're going to get to the latest in the James Harden saga and the Philadelphia Eagles. Isn't this a coincidence that the Philadelphia Eagles are holding a joint practice with the Indianapolis Colts? They kick off on Thursday night at 8 o'clock in South Philly. And who are they hosting? They're hosting the Colts. And who just became available yesterday via trade? Jonathan Taylor. Do the Eagles have a clear-cut number one running back? No, they do not. So I've already seen the speculation out there. Look, for my opportunities in speaking with the great Adam Schefter, the Eagles are in on everything. Every time there's some big name available, whether trade or free agency, the Eagles and Howie Roseman, at the very least, do their due diligence. They do their homework, they inquire, they kick the tires, and they decide whether or not we're in or we're out. Now, you could say that about just about every single general manager in all the NFL. You could say that about every single director or president of player operations or football operations when it comes to the NFL, when it comes to the National Football League. But Howie, this time of year, oh, baby, there's an itchy trade finger. I don't put anything past Howie Roseman. When it comes to Jonathan Taylor, do I think they're going to do it? No, I do not think they're going to add Jonathan Taylor. Do I think they're at least going to kick the tires and see what the price really is? Oh, absolutely. They're going to do that. Bottom line, I don't think Jonathan Taylor comes to Philadelphia. Do I want Jonathan Taylor here? If you tell me that you're putting Jonathan Taylor on the Philadelphia Eagles for this upcoming season, hell yeah, I want every ounce of that. Do I want to pay the cost? Do you absolutely need them? Would it absolutely be a luxury? Oh, it certainly would be a luxury. But you know what? Luxuries are nice. I tend to enjoy luxury. And Jonathan Taylor would be a nice addition to that backfield without question. I just don't think they're going to end up paying the price. And the reason why is because it's also reported that they're not looking to give away Jonathan Taylor. And of course they're not. So I do look at it as a bit of a pipe dream. I do give it a small chance of it happening, but I find it highly unlikely. But I do find it interesting that if you wanted two teams to be, if you want to do a deal with the team, it'd be nice to be in the same building as the team for, a couple hours this week, which is going to happen. I can see Howie Roseman going over right now to be like, don't pick up that phone. I'm right here. Don't pick up that phone. Take that other offer. I am right here. Don't pick up that phone. Take the other offer. I am right here. Just give Jonathan Taylor right here. Oh, look, he's just got to change the locker rooms. That's all he's got to do here. How great is that? So we'll get to that conversation when it comes to Jonathan Taylor. We're getting to the conversation of the Philadelphia Eagles and your boy, Jalen Hurts, being on the cover of Sports Illustrated. Do people still believe in jinxes anymore? I don't even know. Do they still believe in the old jinx? Because I don't know. But I know that Sports Illustrated has always had the aura, if you will, of the jinx when it comes to the front cover curse. It's not just the Madden curse, even though I know the Madden curse has taken over a much bigger role as of late. But Jalen Hurts is now on the front cover of Sports Illustrated. There it is if you haven't seen it. I think my man looks good. I think our man looks great, as a matter of fact. I don't believe in jinxes anymore. I know, I grew up in the Billy Penn, the curse of Billy Penn and all that. I grew up in that era. And I know some people very much believe in jinxes and all that stuff. I want to tell you what did it for me. And if you haven't heard me say this before, I'll tell you right now. When the Phillies won the World Series in 2008, it was like everything I had done during wins, I tried to do again and I'd forget. I'd be like, I just jinxed the team. And then they'd still win. So I'm like, this is kind of the moment where I've gotten past the idea of jinxing anything. So that's where we're at as far as jinxes go. So I don't believe in this. I don't believe in the Madden curse. I don't believe in the front cover curse of Sports Illustrated. So I have no problem with this whatsoever. I love every second of it. I think this team is powerful enough to come over to overcome any jinx, any hex, any bad luck that people want to throw, any maloik people want to throw on them. I think this Philadelphia Eagles team, I think they got it. And I think we're set up for success here in Philadelphia. Now, it could just be one of those seasons that we're not even going to get into. We're not even going to talk about, where everything just seems to go wrong. But I just don't see it happening. I think this team is too good with their starting 22. I think they are too good when it comes to their depth. The biggest question mark for me remains your coordinators, Brian Johnson and Sean Desai. We've been hearing from them both throughout training camp. Look, for what you can get out of a press conference with these guys, it seems like they got a good handle on what their responsibilities are, but we're not really going to know. We're not absolutely going to know until we see game situations of the regular season. Preseason is all practice, and so far, so good as far as that goes. I like them to clean up penalties, pre-snap penalties in particular, but everything else, that looks good. Looks good. The two-point conversion calls, yeah, go for it. Fine. One was good, one was bad. You go for just overall balance in the offense and testing players out. I like what I'm seeing so far. So no glaring problem right now with your coordinator positions. And even in Sean Desai's case, from what you can tell of a preseason, like the idea that he's been aggressive with his linebackers and setting blitzes. We talked about it yesterday with Nakobe Dean. Great blitzer while he was at Georgia. Now he's the opportunity to do it in the NFL. If you can do it at the NFL and you have that kind of weapon at your disposal, you'd be stupid not to blitz. Not all the time. Every once in a while. So we'll get into that conversation as well today. But let's start it off today, ladies and gentlemen, with your Philadelphia Phillies, who had an awesome win last night. Aaron Nola. I said it at the beginning of the show yesterday. I did not expect a clutch performance from Aaron Nola last night. In fact, I was so positive that I wanted to load up possibly on betting against Aaron Nola last night. Placed a little big bet right there on the old Aaron Nola. And sure enough, he went out there and after a shaky first inning, settled in nicely. Zach Wheeler, of course, started out the game 2 nights ago in the Little League Classic by allowing 5 hits to start the ball game. He wasn't able to limit the damage, allowing 4 runs, unfortunately. But then Aaron Nola allows a run on a Jock Peterson bullet of a home run in the right field, and then loads the bases. There's a 1-out situation, loads the bases, and he induces a 1-2-3 double play to get out of that inning. A 28-pitch first inning, I believe it was, for Aaron Nola. 20 or 29 first pitch inning for Aaron Nola. And then cruise control the rest of the way for Aaron Nola. 7 innings in total, allowing 1 more earned run. So he allows 2 runs in total. He allowed another solo home run as well. That one was a blast. 428 feet, 438 feet, whatever the hell that was. That was an absolute moonshot of a home run that he allowed to, who was it? How do I not have this? Like an idiot. Oh, because those are my wrong notes. That's why I don't have it. Anyway, great. Wrong legal pad, moron. But allowed the home run to Wade, I think it was yesterday, an absolute blast. So 2 runs there scored on Aaron Nola. But then 7 innings, 2 runs. That's only the 6th time this season that Aaron Nola has gone at least 7 innings and allowed 2 or fewer earned runs. Only the 6th time this season. He had 11 such starts last year. Shout out to my man, Michael Barkan. I didn't realize the stat till after the game. 7 innings of 3 runs or fewer. He's had 8 of those starts now on the season, and he's won each and every one of them. 7 innings, 3 runs. That's good. That's really good. That's ace quality stuff. Okay. That ERA of the 3, essentially, less than that. 7 innings, you give me 7 innings, you're only giving me an inning or 2 of your bullpen and resting those guys for, in case of emergency, break glass in other moments. That's fantastic. And Aaron Nola last night looked like the guy that we hoped he would be. He looked like the guy that we saw for the majority of last season. That's what Aaron Nola did. In a clutch performance against a team that they win this series, they are right on your heels in the wild card spot. And Aaron Nola came up huge for the Phillies last night. But if there was one person that I'd essentially give a game ball to and say was player of the game, it was Alec Bohm. Had the 13th home run of the season, like I said, tying his total from last year, but then made a number of plays at first base. 3 at least. 1 diving to his left to smother a ground ball, hit his way for a 3-1 putout. The other diving to his right to take away a base hit for another 3-1 putout. And then starting another double play late in the ballgame to help you get out of a jam. He was Johnny on the spot at first base last night. Now, look, he's been playing great at third base as well, so I'm happy to have his defense over there. I don't know if Bryce Harper is getting those balls if he's at first base last night, but I still want to see Bryce Harper at first more than anything. But while Alec Bohm has gone back and forth from first base to third base this season, he has looked fantastic. And at the start of last year, I would not have predicted that. I would not have predicted the idea that predicted the fact that Alec Bohm was going to come out and look like a Gold Glover at both corner infield spots. That has been awesome. To watch that development, to watch that improvement from Alec Bohm has been great. His hitting has remained consistent. Yes, everyone has ebbs and flows of a season, but his low points of the year have been short, and they have been few and far between. So seeing him contribute with 3 hits last night, with his solo home run, seeing him contribute with his glove last night was awesome. If I have to go to anybody else after Aaron Nola and after Alec Bohm, Bryce Harper inside the park home run was a thing of beauty. It was an absolute thing of beauty to watch the way he was able to help his ball club last night. As a designated hitter, it's his 10th home run of the season, and it was all hustle all the time. Put it off the angled wall in center field. They couldn't catch up with it. He was able to they bobbled it a couple of times there, couldn't pick up the baseball, and then he rounds third, heads for home, and then has the little smile after the little pop slide. Little, hey, what's up, everybody? Hands up in the air. Hey, what's going on? This team's just having fun. This team is just having fun. And when it was all said and done, when the smoke cleared, here's where we're at. Phillies 3 games up in a wild card spot. The Chicago Cubs are just a half game up in a wild card spot, so they trail the Phillies by 2.5 games. Giants bumped on down to the number 3 spot in the wild card. Diamondbacks half game out of a spot. Reds a game out. Marlins a game and a half, and the San Diego Padres are 5.5 back. That's where we're at after last night's ball game in South Philadelphia. Everybody, by the way, everybody hits. Woo! Every starter for the Phillies got a hit in the ballgame last night. How fantastic is that? That is pretty damn awesome, if you ask moi. Yeah, it was a Wade home run. Okay, there we go. Yeah. Wade hit a home run to make it a 3-2 ball game. Then Bohm homered in the bottom of the third inning. Bottom of the third to make it a 4-2 game. There we go. Now there's my right notes. Okay. Speaking of that Bohm home run, I gotta get this out. Funny coincidence. So I'm watching the game, and I see Bohm, hit a long fly ball to center field, and I'm like, oh, that's gonna be gone. That's gonna be gone. Oh, it's gonna be close. It's gonna be close. And there's a gentleman that stands up in a baby Bjorn with a baseball cap on. And it's like, okay, is he going to reach over? Don't reach over. Don't reach. Did he reach over? I don't think he reached over. They end up reviewing it. Now, I'm tweeting, meanwhile, about this guy, this random guy in the stands. And I'm like, it looked like good presence by that dad, by that fan, for keeping his hands behind the wall to make sure it wasn't going to be a ground rule double, to make sure he was going to let it be a home run. And then I also said, extra dad points if he catches in the baby Bjorn next time. I'm tweeting about this guy. And the next thing you know, maybe 10 minutes later, I get a text from my buddy Dan. Guy I grew up with, guy I've known since I was 10 years old, played sports together growing up, right? He's about maybe a year older than me. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, what is Dan doing? Oh, Dan's at the game? Oh, no way. Sure enough, the guy that got the home run ball was my buddy Dan that I grew up with. And he texted me this beautiful picture of his daughter. Check this out. He gave the ball, of course, to his beautiful daughter, Cece. Look at her. Just gorgeous. Okay? He gives the ball to her, and I shoot him a text. I'm like, hey, man, I'm going to be doing the post-game show if you want to jump on for a second. So I would love it. This was completely objective, by the way. I was watching the game, saw a fan, great presence of mind, and sure enough, he had a hat on. I couldn't really recognize him. And sure enough, it was my buddy Dan who caught this ball. And he was kind enough to join us on postgame last night. Here he is with his perspective on catching Alec Boehm's 13th home run of the season.
Well, obviously not soft hands, since I better known as Clank. I was actually in full protection mode because that was my daughter. She's almost 5 months old. Her first Phillies game at Citizens Bank Park. And so I jumped out there in front of me. I got the Bjorn on. I'm trying to reach around and everything like that. The lady in front of me was kind of upset, kind of hooked her arm. I wasn't going to let her get it. But, yeah. So, yep, just try to catch the ball, which I did not do, unfortunately.
I saw her bad technique on her part, and I saw you cradle under it, and it looked like she was trying to catch the ball that was like 5 feet away from her. I was like, what is she looking at? But anyway,
I don't think she had her glasses.
So full protection mode. Any thought to try to catch it in the baby Bjorn?
You know what? There was, but you know what? I love baseball. I didn't want to reach over, and you know what, Gabe, you know what you can do. All right, Kapler. This is why that guy's out of here. All right, challenging me. What are you wasting that for? Come on now, you got to know where you hit that ball. Yeah, jeez, I'm so glad he's not here.
You know what you did? You presented beautifully. That's what you did.
Oh, thanks.
So you were presence of mind, stay behind the wall.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You can't mess around with this game. You know? I mean, I don't want to take a home run away from Alec Boehm. That guy's becoming a legend here. You gotta love him.
Now, I will say, in Gabe Kapler's defense, I didn't challenge it. It was a crew review. They originally announced, the umpire announced, was it Carpazza? Carapazza, he said, the San Francisco Giants, and then it was like, Miss Guzzi, crew chief review. And he did a great job. Presence of mind. To all the fans sitting in the first row at any Philadelphia Phillies game this year, you take a note from my buddy Dan Cain. Hell of an athlete, by the way, growing up. Hell of an athlete. He did drop it. He did drop it for the record. The presence of mind. By the way, PJ is off today, ladies and gentlemen. So I have access to this. I'm going to get my buddy Joe's comment in here right out of the gate. Give Stott a game ball for drawing so many pitches every at bat. You damn right. Absolutely. I did give him a big shout out in the post game last night. But no, absolutely. I want to make sure I get that in there. For last night's game, for his incredible performance, particularly the second inning. He leads off that inning. Now, Sosa had the 2-run home run, but it didn't happen until after Bryson Stott led off that inning by working a 13-pitch walk. Bryson Stott, it's become a point where during the games for Bryson Stott, he goes down 0-2, and the broadcasters are laughing. I was like, well, here we go again. He's down 0-2. What's going to happen? And he goes down 0-2. He fouls off 7 pitches in total, gets 3 balls in the count. So now it's a full count. And on the 13th pitch, takes ball 4. Take your base. And then Edmundo Sosa steps up, and it's a 2-run home run. Edmundo Sosa's been clutch as well, and that gave the Phillies a 3-1 lead in last night's game. So, and that was fantastic. And Alec Boehm's been doing it all season long. I did Alec Boehm. Jeez. Bryson Stott has been doing it all season long. I did look up the pitches per plate appearance for Kyle Schwarber and Alec Boehm, and they're like, I think 1/100th of a point different with Bryson Stott having the slight advantage in all of that. I do continue to look at the fact that there's one person in this lineup. Now, Turner had another multi-hit game yesterday, which was great. Boehm was down in the order. He obviously had a fantastic game also. But there's one guy in the lineup that he just can't budge. And I would love to say he had a 444-foot home run yesterday to the upper deck, second deck down into right field. The absolute blast, a moonshot, a sinker that just was flat as hell coming in on him. And he just, swung that bat head around, smacked the hell out of it. Explosion of a home run from Kyle Schwarber last night. A Schwarbob? So I don't know who it was on social media. It said Schwar Missile, but it was more like that. Blasted it deep into the night. I just don't. If you're going to move Trey Turner up in the order, and Trey Turner is now the Trey Turner that you signed to a $300 million deal, and you signed him originally with the intent to lead off, then what are we doing here? I just feel like it's wasted opportunities with Kyle Schwarber. Get somebody on base in front of him. I understand there's this one time he leads off every game, blah, 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 but it resets your whole lineup. And if you really want to put the fear, like, I don't get it. Rob Thompson's big defense of Kyle Schwarber at the top of the order is the pitcher's got to think about it when he goes to bed. If you're a starting pitcher, so if you're this, what's his name, Kyle Hendricks getting the start tonight, if you're this, their top prospect, and you're going to make your start, you're going to bed thinking, I got to face Kyle Schwarber. Doesn't it also suck to think that you got to face a guy that can get on base like Trey Turner, that can steal bases like Trey Turner, and then you also have to face Kyle Schwarber? That seems like it would suck. That seems like I would lose more sleep over a 1-2 punch of Trey Turner than Kyle Schwarber. That just seems odd that they're not at least trying it. Everybody else in the order can get moved around. Alec Boehm, Bryson Stott, Nick Castellanos, Bryce Harper, Trey Turner. The only guy that's now cemented in the leadoff spot, unquestioned, is Kyle Schwarber. And they win a lot of games. Sometimes I think they do it in spite of Kyle Schwarber there at the top of the order. But, they win. They're winning the games. They're winning the games. So as I mentioned, the Phillies are now 3 games into their wild card spot. Hopefully they stack that up a little bit more after tonight's ball game. 6:40 start time again. For the Phillies, Taijuan Walker will get the ball, hopefully through his dead arm period. I doubt it, but hopefully. He'll go Kyle Harrison, not Kyle Hendrick. Kyle Harrison, their top prospect, 22-year-old left-handed pitcher, will be getting the start tonight for the San Francisco Giants. It is fun to beat up on Gabe Kapler. I will say that much. It is fun. And I liked Gabe when he was here. I didn't think he was a good fit for this clubhouse, but I liked Gabe. A lot of people thought he wasn't genuine. He was very genuine. He was a California kid, which is not at all a Philadelphia kid. That is a very different thing. It's a very different breed of human. People were like, this fraud. I was like, no, he believes himself. It's not all just song and dance, if you will. All right. I want to jump to the James Harden situation because Sham Charania put it out there yesterday. He answered the question. We talked about this yesterday. But Sham Charania put out the subject of James Harden and what went down and what James Harden told investigators from the NBA that were looking into why he called Daryl Morey a liar. Did Daryl Morey promise a long-term max contract, obviously, last year during negotiations that he did not fulfill this year? And plot twist, that wasn't the situation. I thought that was going to be the situation. I thanked the NBA yesterday for looking into this because we're all curious as to what the hell did happen and why James Harden is calling Daryl Morey a liar. Well, according to Sham Charania of The Athletic, the reason James Harden called Daryl Morey a liar was because Daryl Morey told him that when he opted into his player option for this coming season, Daryl Morey would trade him, quote, quickly. I will trade you quickly. James Harden is still a 76er. It's been about a month and a half that this BS has been going on. Daryl Morey loves the long game. If he told James Harden that he was going to trade him quickly, first off, if you're James Harden, I'm not buying it because Daryl Morey pretty damn well, and he is all about the long game. I don't know if he was trying to pacify his friend. I don't know. But if he thought he was going to trade James Harden for top dollar right away, then he is bat-you-know-what crazy. Especially if your only real trade partner was going to be the Clippers. Regardless, here's the situation we're in. His value is only going to diminish. He is not going to become more valuable. The Clippers get hurt. They're not going to say James Harden's going to be our savior. They're not going to say, oh, Kawhi Leonard might be hurt. Paul George might be hurt again. Oh, well, James Harden. We can get James Harden. He'll be our savior. It's not going to happen. If those guys get hurt, they're going to be like, well, that sucks for us. This is just how we're going to have to deal with the season. If Daryl Morey was offered, and I'll say it again, if Daryl Morey was offered matching money and a first-round draft pick a couple years down the line, oh, my goodness gracious, jump on that as fast as humanly possible. And if that was out there, I know all the trade machines and I know all the experts said that was a distinct possibility. If that was offered and he didn't take it, then that is stupid. That is just dumb stupidity. Peak dumb stupidity. And now it's going to be however much time. Now, whatever you were going to get, you're going to get even less. Whatever you were going to get and you were going to say, thank you, may I have another? The answer would be no, you may not have another, but you're welcome for the crap and slop you're going to get in return for just matching money. You're lucky you're even getting that. But if you're also going to get the first round pick right out of the gate, then I just take it. Because now it's just like you're holding a guy hostage and nobody wants him. You're not getting MVP James Harden. Was he a lot closer to that last year, especially with his ability to facilitate? He certainly was. So I'm just fed up. Look, I still think, bottom line, the light at the end of the tunnel in all of this, the light at the end of the tunnel is the fact that you're going to get a guy, or excuse me, you're going to get a season where it is Maxey and Embiid. I'll say it time and time again when it comes to the 76ers squad. That's the one thing we can look forward to for the upcoming season is that this is going to be the Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey 76ers. James Harden's done. Whatever they get back, fine. They were going to lose the trade anyway. Now they're going to get blown out in the trade, if that's a possibility. Eagles start up joint practices today or practice, I should say, in South Philadelphia ahead of their last preseason game of the season, taking on the Indianapolis Colts. Shane Steichen is back in Philadelphia. Jim Schwartz was last week. Shane Steichen this week. Bring them all back, baby. I read an interesting thing yesterday about joint practices and injuries happening at joint practices and fights happening at joint practices. Where are we in the midst of a trend that is going to soon see its way out? Like the joint practice everyone loves because it's a more controlled environment, but it can also be a little bit more chippy because you're not going to get fined. You're not going to get penalized in a joint practice the way you would in a game. So players might feel like they could get a little bit more chippy. Last week was a good example when things got a little chippy after an interception return by, I think it was Reed Blankenship and Sidney Brown laid a block on somebody. Joel Bitonio put the Eagles on notice in the paper saying that a Cleveland plain dealer, they were taking cheap shots at Deshaun Watson. All right, well, if you're going to take cheap shots, then do something about it then, because I know the Eagles wouldn't stand for that if you were taking cheap shots on Jalen Hurts. So there's an idea that we're in this kind of trend right now where joint practices are all the rage and preseason matters less than ever before. So in a couple years, they're going to turn it around and then the preseason matters again, albeit only 3 games. And joint practices, maybe you have 1 as opposed to 2 joint practice sessions with 2 different teams. I'm curious to see the way it goes. But Shane Steichen being here now makes me think this is going to be a more subdued joint practice that you're going to have with the Indianapolis Colts, where people aren't going to be taking cheap shots. People aren't going to be looking at Anthony Richardson saying, "Oh, let me rattle his cage." You're going to be looking at this Jonathan Taylor situation, and there's going to be great anticipation here in Philadelphia for what could happen there and around the NFL. But I don't think it's going to lead to anything on the field, of course. But I think it's going to be a more tame because the offense, the head coach of the football team. And that there's a huge respect between both head coaches now and Nick Sirianni and Shane Steichen. Literally just helping coach this team to a Super Bowl last year. So I don't think there's going to be a lot of drama coming out of this particular practice. But I do find it very interesting that there's been this storyline with Nick Sirianni and increased intensity from a year ago. Even going back to 3 weeks ago when he was addressing the media during one of his press conferences, he talked about how, no, this is the same thing for me. The intensity is the same. I wonder if there'll be a little extra added competition, being that it is a former coach that was under him in Shane Steichen and Nick Sirianni, bringing in Shane Steichen back to Philadelphia. I wonder if there'll be a little edge to him. I want to make sure that we out-practice these guys, that we win the practice we're going to have against Shane Steichen's team. But even last week, last weekend, Nick Sirianni threw his bullhorn to the ground because he was disgusted with the way the practice was going. Whether it's SI covers, whether it's national rankings, whether it's player rankings, saying that Jalen Hurts is the third best, not just quarterback, the third best player in the league, second best quarterback in the league, whatever it comes to hype that is surrounding this team, expectations surrounding this team. I heard Louis Riddick talk about why this team is going to make it back to a Super Bowl again because of their core, because of Howie Roseman putting together a great, deep team. Peter King talking about this team 2 weeks ago. The deepest team in the NFL. Howie Roseman's put together the deepest team in the NFL again? That Super Bowl team that won. That's a pretty deep team, as we all remember. And now he's done it again. There's a lot of off-the-field stuff. A lot of hype going into the season, as one would expect, when you have a runner-up to the MVP and you also win the NFC. A lot of hype surrounds that team. Nick Sirianni can say all he wants that he's not raising the stakes or that his emotions aren't getting the better of him when it comes to the intensity surrounding this team going into the season, because he knows what's at stake. He knows that rat poison that's out there. Hey, look, last year, there was a lot of talk about the Philadelphia Eagles, but they were a team that made it to the playoffs and got bounced out of the first round. Now they're a playoff team that has won playoff games, that has won the NFC, that's made it to a Super Bowl, and has a quarterback ready to have another MVP run. That's rat poison. Everything else is just talk. Last year was just talk. Jalen Hurts, we didn't even know if Jalen Hurts was the guy yet. Now we definitely know he's the guy. Now he is the guy. I mean, for about 20 minutes, he was the highest paid quarterback in the league. Nick Sirianni is on the edge of his seat. And put yourself in Nick Sirianni's shoes for a second here. Yeah, this seems like a great situation to be in. You've been given the keys to a pretty nice car. It's all around you. You're the one driving as the head coach of this football team. You're the one making the decisions on game day when it comes to, or you're making the decision on the game plan that's going to go into it. You're going to have the last minute decisions to go for it on 4th and short. You're going to have last minute, should I kick a field goal? Like, the keys are in your hands here. And sure, you let a guy like Jalen Hurts drive, and you let a guy like Brian Johnson, call the plays. But ultimately, as the head coach of this football team, it's all on you. He's looking around his team, and he's got to be thinking, there's no way. Okay, I understand I got Jason Kelce here. I understand I got Jalen Hurts here, who is wise so far beyond his years, it's not even funny. But I believe the reason he's on edge is because he knows it's all going to come back to him. Leadership on this team, absolutely. But things start hitting the wall. Sometimes leaders don't get listened to. You know who will get listened to? The guy that's going to control your playing time. And that's Nick Sirianni. So hearing stories of him being a little bit more amped up like he was a couple of weeks ago, him stopping practice again, and he did the same thing last year. I don't like what I'm seeing. I'm stopping practice. Everyone get focused. Did the same thing last year. You know what he didn't do? He didn't have a bullhorn. He wasn't throwing the bullhorn to the ground. He wasn't riding Jalen Hurts as hard as he is this year. Hearing all these stories come out about Nick Sirianni, it lets me know that the coach knows what's at stake. And it's just not whether or not you're going to have a successful season or not. It's not, and whether or not you're going to make the playoffs. It's not proving whether or not Jalen Hurts is the guy. It's ascending to a level of play that the Eagles got to last year. Being the best team in the NFC. Being the team that made it to a Super Bowl. Being a team that has a perennial MVP candidate. Being a team that has an offensive line that might be on their last year with their Hall of Fame center. And making sure none of this goes to waste. He knows Brian Johnson, but he hasn't seen Brian Johnson on game day in the NFL. He knows Sean Desai barely, but he knows him. He hasn't seen him on game day in the NFL calling plays. He doesn't know how these guys are really going to perform. He's got confidence. Sure, he's got confidence. Otherwise, they wouldn't have gotten the jobs. He's got confidence that these guys can perform well. But he hasn't seen it. It's on him. He's the constant now. He's now the guy who's longest tenured in his position of the three main guys: your head coach, your coordinator, and your coordinators, I should say, defensive and offensive coordinators. Yeah, Jeff Stoutland's been here a while. Jeff Stoutland knows what he's doing. I think we could all have a lot of confidence in Jeff Stoutland, but it's all on Nick Sirianni's plate. And I want to read this. I want to watch this. I want to read about a head coach. I want to see a head coach. I want to see him answer questions. I want to hear him answer questions about how he knows what's at stake and how he has this heightened sense of intensity or feeling of intensity surrounding this year. Because it lets me know that this guy's not buying into the rat poison. This guy's not buying into the hype. It's all about doing it again. You get to a certain level, that's great. Do it again. What have you done for me now? I think it was A.J. Brown talking about that the other day. What type of league is this? What are you doing for me right now? Not what have you done for me? What are you about to do for me? It's what's happening right now. So all that other stuff, preseason rankings, preseason hype, all that stuff. What you did last year, throw it out the window. Nick Sirianni is doubling down on this team. And he wants to make sure that they are laser focused, to steal a word from Gabe Kapler, a phrase from Gabe Kapler, laser focused on what's at hand for this season. That's what I want to read about my head coach. It's the same thing that I want to read about my quarterback. The same thing I want to read about Jalen Hurts. You think I want to hear Jalen Hurts talk about how great he is? How comfortable he is? No. I want to hear about Jalen Hurts going down to Southern California, working out with Tom House, working on his mechanics, getting together with his receivers, not taking anything for granted. He likes to call it keeping the main thing the main thing. That's my quarterback. Your quarterback, your head coach, your core four, the old guys, quote unquote, they're all ready to fire. And I talked yesterday about how they're really looking forward to seeing some of these young guys contribute, especially on the defensive side of things. Seeing Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith contribute, seeing Jordan Davis take a big step forward in the second year. Jordan Davis, with the addition of Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis has kind of gone under the radar now. I'm really curious to see the type of year Jordan Davis is going to have. And then obviously a guy who's going to be in the middle of your defense, your signal caller, and Nakobe Dean. A lot of guys looking forward to seeing what Nakobe Dean will be bringing to the table in the upcoming season. I know I am as well. So joint practice will be today against Shane Steichen's Indianapolis Colts. And I'm sure something will come out of today that will be really interesting for tomorrow. Also, more Eagles coverage today right here on the Jacob Media YouTube channel. I'll be on with my man Jody McDonald coming up at 8 o'clock today for Birds 365. John McMullen will be down there at practice taking care of his writer's responsibilities, and I'll be sitting in the big chair with Jody Mack coming up at 8 o'clock today, 8 to 10. Today with Jody McDonald. So I look forward to that. Let's get into the chat check. See how you wonderful people are doing. As I mentioned, our man PJ is off today, so I got full reign here, ladies and gentlemen. Let me get here. Rick, Toby, what's going on? Nola pitched well. That is a true statement. Sean Gillespie, good morning. Sean Kilrain, good morning. Mike Fuji. Nola answered the bell. Last night, I heard, it reminds me of Mike, thank you. Last night, Aaron Nola was addressing the media, and he was asked about, what was going on in that first inning. 28 pitches. It's a little rough there in that first inning for yourself. And he said he wasn't getting ahead of counts. He went to, I think, 2 or 3 full counts in that first inning. The home plate umpire last night was interesting in terms of his strike zone. I thought he was actually really good. Really good with his strike zone. Adam Hamari was the home plate umpire for last night's game. And Aaron Nola was struggling early because he thought he was hitting corners and he was missing corners. I will say it has looked like over the last couple of games, if somebody told me that the umpire had an IFB and somebody was just on a microphone backstage, in the bowels of the stadium watching the game, be like, strike, ball, strike. And the umpire was like, strike. I wouldn't be surprised because a lot of those pitches that I've seen called balls time and time again are getting called strikes. They've been better recently. I think all the robo umpire talk might have, motivated some of these guys. But anyway, Aaron Nola he thought he was getting the corners. He was just missing the corner. The only pitch I didn't like last night that was consistently called a strike, the high and tight fastball. Kyle Schwarber got called on it. It was when he got pissed off and he turned around and looked at Harmonian was like, really, dude, you to call that a strike? And it was off the plate, but it was close. If it was that close anywhere else, it would be too close to take. But when it's high and tight, you're kind of getting out of the way before anything else. It was technically a ball, but yes, it was too close to take. So Kyle Schwarber didn't like that one, but Aaron Nola didn't like the pitches, the balls in strike zone earlier in the game, and he was really struggling in that first inning. And then after that, I guess he just learned the strike zone. His pitches certainly had some good break on him. He was getting guys to swing and miss on his changeup, his knuckle curve. He had really good control of in the game last night, and he was able to ride that. So settling in over the last two nights by your Phillies starting pitching, they've been able to give you 12 innings. After the first inning, they've combined for 12 innings, Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola, and 1 run. So that's good for your starting pitching after a not-so-good first inning, especially on Zach Wheeler's part. April. Good morning, April. What's going on? Nice to see you. Nola served up. What do you got there, Sean? Nola served up 1 meatball. Looked good the rest of the way. Must have heard us talking smack about him yesterday. Yeah, you know what, Sean? He might have. I don't know. I'd like to see Aaron Nola in the comments. You know what I'm saying? Just chime in on his own type of performance last night. But yeah, the pitch to Wade that he gave up was actually a fastball. That was actually a good pitch. He clobbered it 428 feet to center field, but that was a good pitch. That was a fastball away, that was off the plate a little bit. It would have been a strike, but it was off the plate a little bit, and he just put a great swing on it. The home run to Jock Peterson was a fastball inside that he just turned on. That I thought was the meatball. The other one, that was a belt-high fastball too, so that was right in the power alley for Jock Peterson to put the Giants up 1-0. But the Wade home run was a fastball away. I thought was a good pitch that he just pounced on. Like he knew it was coming. Same theory. I did go back and I listened to some of Rob Thompson after Zach Wheeler's performance. No mention of tipping pitches. He was asked about it last night. Rob Thompson was asked about it last night. He said they are going to go back and look at both games and just see if there was anything in particular where they were. He didn't say tipping their pitches, but he did say that they were all over Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler the last 2 nights in the first inning. So they want to see exactly what was going down to see if they were letting anybody know what was coming, because it certainly looked like some instances where they absolutely knew what was coming. Joe, what's up again? Mally! What's up, Mally? Smoke him if you got him. Nice to see you. Mally, just for you, man. Yeah, drink it in. Drink it in. Fire show good, X-rated. You know what I'm saying? Mally, nice to see you in here again. Appreciate you. April saying hi to Mally. Mally saying hi to April. Very nice. What the hell was up with Dylan Covey pitching? Boy's location was off. His face said it all when he was pulled by Topper. So I think I have this number right. Let me make sure I have this number right. 25 pitches by Dylan Covey last night. 25 pitches. 9 strikes. 9 strikes in 25 throws. Holy Lord, that's terrible. In that 9th inning, you're feeling good. It's 10-2. Kyle Schwarber in the 7th inning just put you up 10-2 with that 444-foot home run. 2-run home run. Then you go into that 9th inning and you're thinking, all right, just, cruise control, a little work, a little mop-up inning. Leadoff single to Flores. Matos walks. Ramos walks. Bases are loaded. Nobody out. Camargo at the plate. Side note, I totally forgot Yohan Camargo existed. I totally forgot he was even on the team last year. But anyway, on the Phillies last year. He hits Camargo in the ankle with a pitch. Another hit by a pitch RBI. Way to go, Phillies pitching. Dylan Covey, then it's a 10-3 ball game. Then Sample comes up there, reaches on the infield single to shortstop to Trey Turner. It's a 10-4 ball game. And you're like, dear God, get him out of there. He did throw a strike to Sable. And the crowd went wild. Jeff Hoffman then comes in. He gets Meckler to line out into the double play. That was to Alec Boehm, another good play by him, catching that liner. They get the double play. It's 10-4 ball game still, and then Hoffman is able to get Davis to fly out to center field to end the game. Johan Rojas charging in to make that play. By the way, real quick, on that note, it looks like Christian Pache is going to take a little bit more time. He had tightness in his hip, I think it was. So they're keeping him out as a little bit more precaution. So he's not going to be back as soon as we thought. So Johan Rojas, as far as I'm concerned, is his job for the foreseeable future. Did get picked off at first base. Again, I think it's the second time it's happened to him. How do you get picked off with a 6'11" pitcher on the mound? That's tied for the tallest player ever in baseball. And however you say his name, Hedge, I don't know. Anyway, lanky ass Hedge is on the mound. And the windup to try to go to first base took an hour and a half, and Johan took a nap, woke up, had a cup of coffee, and then tried to get back to first base. Didn't make any damn sense to me. But anyway, I digress. Everyone's saying hi to Mally. That's nice. That's great. Sean Gillespie was calling. Harden should have known better, especially with his own performance in his last two playoff games. I guess. I don't know. Joe, what's up, buddy? Still think Harden is returning with an extension. Don't trust either of them. It's possible. I will say I will say, Joe, when I thought he was absolutely traded, you were like, oh, not so fast. I got to give you credit for that. You had your finger on the pulse the whole time, you little NBA reporter, you. How do you come back from this? I did a hit on CBS 3 2 days ago. And they had asked me the same thing. Like, is he going to play is James Harden done as a 76er? I'm like, yes. You can't call your president of basketball operations a liar and say you're not going to be a part of that team anymore and then be a part of that team. I mean, Morey holds the cards here. I don't want this to be another Ben Simmons situation. I think in a way, it's a win-win for Daryl Morey and the Sixers in that you're going to get more out of Tyrese Maxey. I've never put so much on an all-star, but if Tyrese Maxey plays himself into an all-star game, if Tyrese Maxey is an all-star this year, then this season's worth it as far as I'm concerned. If he can prove he's one of the best players in the NBA, then it is worth it. Because then you're going to go into the offseason with freed up money. James Harden's officially off the books. No matter what. Tobias Harris will be off the books. The money you'll have, yes, you got to sign Tyrese Maxey. That's one thing you definitely have to do, obviously. But then you have the money to bring in another talent. Yeah, I'll take it. Look at next year's free agent class. All right. Let's have a crack at that. I don't think I've ever put more in the stock of just making an all-star team than I will with Tyrese Maxey potentially taking that step forward. I'm very excited to see if that actually plays out. Mihai Sanchez, what's up, Mihai? Little League home run for Bryce a day after Little League Classic. Way to counterpunch the Giants after a sweep in May. That sweep was terrible. I went back and I looked at that sweep. Bailey Falter took a loss in that sweep. Taijuan Walker was still learning the ropes here in Philadelphia. That was an ugly one. That was an absolute ugly one. I said James Harden is now no better than Ben Simmons, the man we traded for. Coincidence? Have a great day, everyone. Thank you for dropping that nugget in. I appreciate that. Sean Harden can at least shoot during the season. Fair enough. The Shawns are going up. Nick Sirianni very hungry for a full Super Bowl meal after tasting it last year. Caught a whiff of the Super Bowl. I love the motto that Chris Long and Kelsey said, hungry dogs run faster. I know that has to stick with the team for sure. Farzy. Well, I go back to what I was talking about on Friday. Nolan Smith, and I know this has picked up some steam on the old X now, the old Twitter. The hungry dogs run faster have picked up a little bit more steam after Nolan Smith's comments about eat off the floor. You have to be hungry enough to want to eat it off the floor. I can think of no better mindset for a young player to have. Because you come out of college, you look great as a college athlete. You become a first-round pick. Though a lot of people thought you'd be a higher pick. You weren't a higher pick. And now Nolan Smith and Jalen Carter are both Philadelphia Eagles. I love seeing the jokes about how does the league let this happen? The league really let Howie get both these guys? I absolutely love it. But Nolan Smith with the mindset of I'm hungry enough to eat it off the floor, that's the mindset I want a young guy to have, especially in this city. Definitely was fire, bad taste in his mouth, Super Bowl for sure. Sean Kilrain. April, what's going on? I think after when Bone got tossed in that Sunday game and it got national attention, the calls have been somewhat better. There we go. I like that as far as the umpires go. Yeah, absolutely. I'll buy into that. Mike Fuji, Kobe should be stripped from wearing number 54 in memory of Brad Lynch. 9 feet tall. 9 foot tall PJ. So producer Jim, I joke, is 9 feet tall. He's actually 9'11". He's actually bigger than that. 9 foot tall PJ would have got him picked off. Absolutely. April, well played. Thanks everybody in the chat. You guys are great as per usual. Let's get to the morning rush brought to you by Sky Motorcars, skymotorcars.com. Holy Stromboli, where are we at? Wait, come on. Where's my all over the place today? Oh, a couple of things I want to get in here. Reggie Miller on the James Harden situation. Reggie Miller was doing an interview with, I believe it was NBA TV. It got picked up by House of Highlights. Reggie Miller, who doesn't want to play with an MVP? Speaking of James Harden and Joel Embiid. I thought that was an excellent point. I'll tell you who. Kobe and Shaq didn't want to play together for a minute there, even though they had success. That was something. I remember going through that. As a Sixers fan, I enjoyed every second of it, but then, of course, they ended up winning. Damn it. So, yeah. Reggie Miller saying that doesn't make any damn sense. And you guys know one of my favorite people, I watch him often in the media, is Scott Van Pelt. Scott Van Pelt is now going to be your Monday night countdown host for ESPN. Susie Colbert was awesome. She did a fantastic job. If I could pick anyone to do it after her, it would be Malika Andrews. And then it would be Scott Van Pelt. No, Malika Andrews not going to do it. But I think Scott Van Pelt is great at what he does. I think he's fantastic at what he does. And him being added to that lineup, I think is going to be fantastic. Ryan Clark is going to be a part of it. Marcus Spears is going to be part of it as well. I really look forward to that broadcast. I think they're going to bring a lot to the table as far as Monday Night Football goes. And I think Scott Van Pelt is one of the best personalities that SportsCenter has. If you go in what they have now, I think a local guy, Max McGee, does a great job on SportsCenter. He's been on the show. Kevin Agandi, obviously, is all class all the time. He's fantastic. But Scott Van Pelt, I just get the sense that he is such a great mix of the fun that used to be SportsCenter. And I'll tell you what I mean specifically in that. I'm going to name drop here, and I apologize for doing it, but I have to illustrate the story. Dan Patrick, I got to know very briefly when I was at Sunday Night Football, and he would travel around every so often. And when I got to work for NHL on NBC, I got to know Dan Patrick a little bit. Now, we're not best friends. We don't text. It's just I got to know him a little bit. And he told me this wild story about Keith Olbermann and himself when they were doing the SportsCenter anchors doing the Monday SportsCenter, and I'd be eating my cereal, watching it every Monday, just laughing my ass off. I think it was fantastic. But they got called into the office by ESPN executives back in the day about, hey, you guys are having a little too much fun. All right, why don't you guys back it off a little bit? Like, they got told to back it off. And throughout the meeting, Dan Patrick was like thinking, this sucks. I thought we were doing really great. And now they want us to like dial it back and do like straight sports. And Keith Olbermann throughout the meeting was like, you know what, you guys make a great point. Absolutely fantastic. That's great. We'll do it. We totally understand. And then they leave the meeting, and Dan Patrick says to Keith Olbermann, well, that sucks. I think we were doing a great job. Now we got to change it. And Olbermann looks at Patrick and goes, bleep them. Those suits, what the hell do they know? We're going to keep doing whatever the hell we want to do anyway. Let's just do that. And Dan Patrick was like, okay. And now knowing Keith Olbermann and the guy he is now, it's like, yeah, that totally makes sense. And for him to say to hell with the establishment, I guess, at the time. And now SportsCenter is a lot of fun. And it, of course, developed into Stuart Scott having all the fun and Rich Eisen having all the fun and Scott Van Pelt having a hell of a lot of fun. And before that, the great Kurt Kilbarn having a lot of fun in the booth. And Scott Van Pelt is a perfect cross between the modern day journalist and also the guys that just have fun on SportsCenter. And I think he's going to bring a lot to the table at that same type of mentality. And I think now that's something that ESPN very much embraces, unlike the days of Keith Olbermann and Dan Patrick. So I think he brings that healthy mix of knowledge, obviously very informative, and a very fun style to do a broadcast. And I think he does a fantastic job. So I was happy to see that he got the Monday Night Football countdown on ESPN. As for tonight, Taijuan Walker gets the start for the Philadelphia Phillies. He has struggled 7 runs in his last 2 starts. He has been going through that dead arm period, as we've talked about before. Hopefully he's going to find his way on the other side of that. Kyle Harrison, the number 1 prospect in the San Francisco Giants farm system, is coming up to make his big league debut. 22 years old, left-handed pitcher out of San Jose, California, just down the road a piece from San Francisco. He'll be making his big league debut tonight in South Philadelphia to take on this hot Phillies offense. Hot? Should I say hot? After they score 10 runs, they're going to score 2 tonight, of course. So there'll be a feel-out period there. Hopefully they jump on the young guy early and have some success. But the Phillies are back at it tonight. 6:40 start time yet again against this San Francisco Giants team that they now have a 3-game lead on in the wild card standings. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. My name is Mark Farzetta. This is the Farzy Show. For Jacob Media, thank you so much for the Farzy Show. Appreciate you guys. I'll be back with you guys at 8 o'clock today with the great Jody McDonald for Birds 365. Coming up at 8 today from 8 to 10. So see you guys then. Bye.